I'm Matt Zisow. I'm the COO of CustomMade. We've been around for about 4 years, and I thought I'd give a little bit of an overview of the business. We've got a little video that kind of brings what we do to life, and then I'm going to have Ty, who has done about 102% of the work implementing Looker. It's 100% of it, and then the extra 2% is undoing stuff that I messed up. So he's going to talk through the details of what we've done. So CustomMade is an online marketplace for custom furniture, jewelry, home decor, and apparel. So the basic idea is we've built a network of about 13,000 professional makers around North America. So these are, think of folks who have been making jewelry, furniture for 20 or 30 years. And they come to us to get access to a much wider customer base than they could have access to just getting business through their local word-of-mouth networks. We have a website, and consumers come to the site, and they give us some idea of what they're looking to have made, and then our goal is to match up the customer with a maker who can do a great job, both in terms of the product and also delivering a great customer experience. What we're trying to do is figure out a way to, when customers come to the site, to land them on an experience that they find engaging, that they find it feels safe and fun to them, and get them to start activating and engaging with us and describing what they want. Then to create an interaction between the consumer and a professional maker that efficiently transfers the information from the consumer to the maker and leads to a great experience. We're also on the maker side of the network. We're trying to understand which of our makers are good, which of our makers are not good. How do we identify very early in our relationship with the maker if this is someone that we want in our network? And so there's lots of big fundamental questions that we're trying to answer, and Looker has really significantly increased our ability to try to approach some of those questions. So I'll kick it over to Ty to talk about what that means day to day for us.
Pre-Looker, most of our analysis was done on just a MySQL read replica of our transactional database that's used in production. And so we were hand querying that in MySQL. And then what we did with Looker was basically, Looker is a layer on top of that database. It has a lot of our sort of different lenses that we want to look through our data at. So whether it's a customer, it's a maker, it's a project. These are sort of what are called the different base views that we use, and sort of has all of our joins set up in those. We have some pretty complicated data exclusions for some dirty data in there that are all built into our back end that Scott helped us set up a few months back. And then for traffic and events data, currently we're using Google Analytics, both for capturing those events, storing those events, and also analysis. I don't know how many of you here are Google Analytics users. It's great for some things, but for us, like Matt talked about how complex our purchase process is. It isn't just go to a page, see a price, click buy, and check out. It's that process where you click buy is sort of just the start. Then you have to interact with the other side of the marketplace, which are the makers. There's some messaging back and forth. You purchase, but the project isn't actually completed when you purchase. So you pay, and then you interact with the maker, and then you pay again. And the way that the Google Analytics is very templated, and it just didn't really serve our needs. And what we were saying is we just wish we had Google Analytics in Looker. And what Snowplow is going to do for us is basically that. It's a tool to allow for page view tracking, event tracking, and then we're putting that on Redshift, and then we're going to be pulling it into Looker through that. We've also the Looker team has been awesome at helping us work through some other data sources that we have that we haven't really been analyzing in any scalable way right now. So some of our support data in Zendesk and our chat data in Olark, they've been working with us on how we get that into Looker as well. What Looker is great for is understanding the process from creating a project. So you describe an idea like you saw in the video of what you want, and then actually moving to a finalized project idea and a transaction, and we call that our fill rate. So it's basically the number of transactions that we have divided by project submissions. So, pretty simple at the heart of things, but there are a lot of different ways that you can enter that process. We want to segment our data in certain ways, and the way that we were analyzing this before Looker is we had a series of different SQL queries that we had stored in a folder. We would run those queries. We would take the data, we would paste it into a few tabs of Excel. And we had a lot of data exclusions that we needed. We had duplicate data, we had test posts that were going through there, and then so we would do some post-processing to flag posts as tests, and then we would feed everything into these pivot tables, and we would update that every day. So it was really cumbersome to share how we were doing with the company, and it also, all of the ways that the data was pivoted and analyzed in cohorts were preset. We couldn't say, oh, I want to look at that by mobile, and I want to look at visitors from the past week. It was a total pain to do. And with Looker, you can basically take this and you can pivot it by all these dimensions. You can filter it based on text. You can do all these things that we couldn't do before. And if you want someone else in the company to see it, you just share a link and you send them the look, and they have it. And it's auto updating, and they can change it themselves with drag and drop functionality. So that's, just in terms of having an understanding of the business, it's been huge for us. So another thing, and I wanted to use this example as a way to show how we as the analytics team have been using Looker, and then how that has translated to it being used across the company. So during the holiday season, there was this prevailing notion that CustomMade wasn't really a seasonal business. So you're going to buy something custom. It's typically going to be something for yourself. It has sort of a long lead time. There are certain specifications, and that was a prevailing wisdom within our company. It wasn't necessarily based on hard data. So we wanted to. We saw our fill rates improving basically as we approach. As we're in November, December, and retail. That's pretty normal that you're going to see some good performance then. But we wanted to test why that was and why it was different than the prevailing wisdom. So we ran an analysis to look at gift posts. And the way that we decided if something was a gift was we basically created a dimension in the LookML. So that's basically what's at the top. And we could put just raw SQL in there, basically. And it's another one of these long strings, which we do use occasionally. But we went through and looked for terms in the project description that would be related to a gift. So the name of a family member, the word, gift, birthday, Christmas, and we looked for any posts that had those terms in there. And one of the ways that and then basically we flagged things as gift or not gift, and we were able to cut it a few different ways, look at different time periods, and this chart here is actually just built into Looker. So we ran the query, we had a table, and then we just flipped over and we used the line chart view. And so the blue here is the fill rate on gifts, and the orange is a fill rate on non-gifts. And you can see gifts they transacted at a much better rate than non-gift posts. And this was a new insight for us that again is something maybe we could have done before, but it was just so much simpler with Looker, and now we have this gift dimension that we can always use and toggle on and off. And so the marketing team thought that was really interesting, and they wanted to use that to run some different campaigns and look at specific types of gifts or items that might be hot. And instead of, and so basically they did a similar thing to gift with a variety of different things. The example I used here was engagement-related items. So engagement rings are a big seller for us, things along those lines. And they again did a text filter, and they actually started right within a look. So you can create a filter, and you can do a text filter sort of right at the top there. So you don't have to go into the back end. It's pretty accessible for a business user. So the example here is the LookML, but they were actually just writing it essentially right in the query interface, and looking for posts with engagement, and then sort of fleshed it out in more detail. And we ran a bunch of marketing campaigns around that. So that was an example of them taking it, and we didn't do any of this. That was all the marketing team, which was pretty cool. The third and kind of the last use case we'll talk about is alerts. So Looker has this feature where you can create a query, a look, and you can have it send you an email at a regular interval, or you can have it and you can determine whether the look sends based on if there's new data or not. So with an alert, you can have it send every 5 minutes, but only if there's new data. So these are just sort of 3 different examples. So one for support issues. Sometimes we have an issue with makers that try to pull, they try to find the customer on CustomMade and then pull them to their own website, somehow pay off the platform to avoid our fee. So Matt and our head of support get an email every morning with any messages that have any of these flagged terms. You can see a message body there. Then you search for different things. Matt, do you want to touch on that?
I was telling some of the Looker guys earlier, this is my single favorite use of Looker. Like, we spend money to bring these customers to them, right? And there's thousands of other makers who could do a great job if they didn't get the job, and they try to steal from us. So I get an email every time a maker uses one of these terms. Like, they think that they're geniuses, that they spell out .com, right? Anyway, so I get an email, and then those people hear from me right away. So we couldn't do that without Looker, so thank you.
The second example here is something our CEO was really interested in. He wanted to see if there were any press that were posting on our site, any investors, or, people that might be really kicking the tires, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't get any bad press. And so we set up a VIP user dimension that gives us an alert anytime somebody with an email like TechCrunch or Forbes creates a project on our site, just to sort of look out for what they're doing. And then this is a report that I get every day. Basically, if there's the word test in the post details, in the post title, because so a lot of people at our company still run tests in production, which is a little annoying, but I think easier than totally fighting the battle is to just screen the posts out, and we can use some of the exclusions we talked about earlier. Yeah, and that's basically it in terms of what we wanted to cover here. A few use cases. If you have any questions, sort of about how we've been using Looker, feel free to lob them up. Grab us afterwards. That's it.